Okay, so I have just activated the webinar, so it will be broadcasting live on Facebook starting right now. We're still waiting for two of our moderators to show up, as well as our fifth candidate. So I will start with giving you instructions. I sent you these instructions earlier today, but I will go over the format instructions again so everybody is clear on what we're doing. I will also describe the order that you'll be answering questions in. If you have any questions about the instructions, please feel free to ask. The one thing I would like to point out, we do have a Q&A area. So if you're familiar with the Zoom meeting format, they have a chat box. Well, we're not going to be using the chat box for questions from the audience, although you might see audience members asking questions on that. I'm going to ask the audience members to post their questions in the Q&A area. So if you see the Q&A area on your screen, if you clicked on that, it opens up another screen, and then you will see candidate questions coming through. So throughout the night, if you want to interact with them as we're doing this live, you're more than welcome to. Once we've completed our night tonight, we will gather these questions, and then we will send them to all the candidates so that you can follow up at your leisure. And then we will take those questions and we will post them on our website as well. So you'll have the opportunity to do a little bit more with the form than just answering the questions we're asking tonight. But certainly if you can answer any of them, I know that the attendees like to get some responses while they're listening to the forum. So, but that's up to you. Okay? Is that clear? Thank you. Welcome, Elise.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
So we have one more moderator yet to arrive, and we're also waiting for Belinda, but we won't wait forever. So we're going to give everybody 2 more minutes, and then we will get started. Any last minute questions about what we're doing? No?
No.
Okay. Maybe one other thing, logistics wise, make sure that when you're not answering questions that you put yourself on mute.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here.
And so, James, I'm starting off with question 1, correct?
You get question 1 right out of the gate.
And then question 5?
Yes, question 5 and question 9. So what will happen is I will do the introductory remarks where each candidate makes an initial statement, and then I'll hand it over to you and you'll do question 1, and then we'll just rotate from that point.
Perfect.
James, can you send us the order of candidates answering?
Yes, I will do that. Just
Thank you.
one moment here. Okay. So candidates, if you also wanted to click on your chat box, you will see when we communicate, what I will be doing in the chat box area is I will be posting the order of response for each question. So before we get to the next question, you'll see it'll say response for question 2, response for question 3, and it will have you in order. Okay, so I'm going to go through how the order is going to work here in just a moment. We still don't have Alma with us, and hopefully she'll be joining us in just a second, but we do need to get started here. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started so we can hopefully stay on time tonight. So welcome candidates, and welcome all who are watching tonight to the ValPAC and VCA's 2020 Vallejo City Candidates Forum. Tonight, our forum is for the VCUSD board. The forum tonight and all forums are brought to you by ValPAC, which is the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce's Political Action Committee, and co-hosted by the Vallejo Chambers Alliance, which is comprised of the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, the Solano County Philam Chamber of Commerce, the Solano County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Vallejo City Chamber of Commerce. Our moderators for tonight are Elise Cheek, the president of the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, Sue Vaccaro, the vice president of the Solano County Philam Chamber of Commerce, Alma Hernandez, the president of the Solano County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and Alma will be joining us shortly, and then myself, James Cooper, the president and CEO of the Vallejo City Chamber of Commerce. So the format for tonight is a scheduled 90-minute event, and it'll be viewable on Facebook Live. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for introductory or opening statements. Candidates will have 90 seconds to respond to each question, and then you'll have 2 minutes for your closing statement. Our intent tonight is to ask you 10 total questions. There will be a timer that appears on screen. So right now you're seeing a screen share. As we proceed through the night, that screen will change. It will show you the current question and a timer will appear. We ask the candidates to please try to stay within the boundaries of the time limit. If you reach the end of your time and you're still talking, you certainly can finish your sentence, but please don't try to keep extending the idea. We try to get out of here on time if we can. The attendees that are watching tonight, there's one way that you can interact with our candidates, and that's by posting your questions in the Q&A area. All candidates have been advised that if they want, they can answer these questions during the event. They will also have an opportunity to receive these questions following the event. All their answers will then be gathered and we will post those answers to our website next week. So please feel free to ask questions and please do put them in the Q&A area and not a chat where they're appearing in front of the candidates. And I think that's all the things I wanted to cover tonight. Candidates, do you have any questions about the format?
No.
No questions? Okay, so we're going to go in the following order for our questions. And so what we'll do is we'll go in alphabetical order by district, which means our first respondent tonight will be Christy Gardner, followed by Raina Robinson, and then Robert Lawson, and then Dr. Latina Young. If Belinda Robinson is to join us, she will be the fifth respondent. And then the question asking order from the moderators will be Elise Cheek will ask our first question, and Alma, when she joins us, will ask our second question. Sue will ask the third question, and I will ask the fourth question. So what will happen is that the person who's asked the first question on the first question first, the next time we ask a question, the second person will be the first one to answer. And we'll keep rotating it down so you each have a chance to be the first respondent for a question, as well as be a last respondent for a question. Understand? It's pretty simple. I will keep posting this in the chat area so that you're aware of who's first and who's last before each question. Okay. Well, I think we'll go ahead and jump forward into our event. And so if we can move the screen forward to our opening statements, we'd like to start by having our first opening statement from Christy Gardner. Christy, you have 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here this evening. And my name is Christy Gardner, and I'm running to continue serving as a board trustee in Area 2. I'm a retired educator starting my career at Vallejo High School and then retiring from the California Department of Education. I want to return to the board because we're doing the work necessary to move the district forward, and we're at a critical point where a knowledgeable and well-run board will make a difference in the near future. The current board has coalesced into a productive body, and that productivity was instrumental in making the appropriate decisions to keep the district solvent. Unfortunately, the district continues to experience declining enrollment, and in the past 20 years, we've lost over 10,000 students. But we can improve and reimagine the district that can increase our student population and improve the student experience. We can expand career technical education, improve upon programs and initiatives that keep students motivated, and explore the possibility of themed schools. We've not had a strategic plan in the district for several years, and I've been asking for one since I was seated on the board. Soon, we will begin the strategic planning process that will involve the community in creating a new vision for the district. We are also in the process of hiring a new superintendent who will then carry out that vision. I'm excited about the progress the district has made and want to continue working on the board to ensure that the changes made are in the best interest of the families and community. We have a big challenge ahead, and I'm committed to seeing it through. Thank you.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you for your opening statement. Now we would like to hear from Raina Robinson. Raina, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you all for your time and attention. I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to be here. And since I've announced my running for school board, many people have asked why I wanted to serve. And more than anything, I want to serve because of my own experiences growing up in Vallejo. My mother and father had me when they were just teenagers, and my father was murdered when I was just 3 years old. As a result, many in this city were willing to write us off. So whether they said it or not, their actions showed that they thought we weren't worth investing in. I personally know a lot of students in this community who also feel that Vallejo is writing them off. Students who feel that they can't be successful because of who they are or where they are, where they live, where they grow up. And the systems aren't really put in place or built out to help them succeed. But I know that they can because I did. I want to serve on the school board because I want to continue to fight to improve our schools. I also want every child to go to a school where they are provided with tools and experiences they need to create fulfilling lives and futures for themselves. Excuse me. So my name is Raina Robinson, and I'm a coordinator of services in the San Francisco Bay Area for foster, homeless, and justice-involved youth in Contra Costa County Office of Education. I became a scholar at a public school, California State University, East Bay, with a communications master, graduating with a 4.0 in ethnic studies, master's in communication, ethnic studies, bachelor's, and a gender and sexuality and community of color minor. I'm also a certified community resiliency model and a youth mental health first aid instructor, a director of services for media and digital literacy, and a current Vallejo Economic Vitality Commissioner.
Thank you, Raina. Thank you. Okay, now we would like to hear our candidate opening statement from Bob Lawson. Bob, you have 2 minutes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. I'm running for re-election in District 4. District 4 is essentially Central Vallejo. So that's what I'm running for. I was elected in 2016. I'm a native of Vallejo, went to Vallejo schools. I'm native of Mare Highland, actually. Basically, I'm running for office because I feel I've done a good job. And here is I found a list of 8 things that I said that needed to be done. I sort of promised. I don't make promises I can't keep. That's one of my first great beliefs. But anyway, when I ran for the board, I said the community had lost faith in the school district and in part the superintendent. And we got a new superintendent while I was on the board. School safety issues need to be honestly acknowledged. There's still school safety issues involved, but at least we're not blaming the victims anymore. Teachers and students, we're not blaming them anymore. Restore faith in the evaluation process of the school. We've been working on trying to get better standards in the schools. We have eliminated some of the academies that were, to be brutally honest, Mickey Mouse. Key person administering the individual school should be the principal, not somebody who comes in from the central office to scare people. We've done much better in that regard. School board meetings are to make policy decisions and not to worship the superintendent. We were able, when I was president of the board, to run meetings in less than 2 hours and get stuff done. And we could also say to the superintendent, you're doing a nice job, end of story. Put an end to the cronyism that was causing a more low morale in a lot of places. trying, I think, doing a better job of hiring the people best qualified for the jobs. To avoid future problems with accreditation of our schools, we really pushed to get people that know what they're doing to run the accreditation process, which was not being done before. And finally, the priority in hiring should be credentialed and classified staff. The most important people at the school are the teachers and the principal, not the people working down in the central office. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Okay, finally, for our opening statements, please welcome Dr. Latina Young. Dr. Young, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Can you see me? Thank you for the opportunity to address the board, this forum. I have served the
We've lost
education.
your sound, Dr. Young.
Pardon? Oh, my sound.
Nope. Yep. Try now.
Hi, can you hear me? No.
Yes.
Yes, Latina,
Anybody
I can hear
hearing
you.
Dr. Young?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes? Okay. I'm
Yes.
not hearing Dr. Young.
Can you hear
so-
me?
Yes.
Okay, everybody can hear me. As I said, thank you for this opportunity. I was born and raised in Vallejo City. I'm a product of a Vallejo City Unified School District, class of 67. I have served the educational needs of Vallejo City Unified School District in the community for 40+ years in the following capacity: 15 years teaching and 25 years as a site and district administrator. I was also elected for a 4-year term for Central Committee, District 1. My knowledge and experience in educational leadership and team building will be an asset to Vallejo City Unified School District School Board. If elected, we as a school board can continue to build visions that will address new ways to deliver instruction, guarantee safety in the learning and working environments for all stakeholders, and physical stability, dealing with the possible cuts in the educational funding on the state level and the federal. As a board member, education, equity, delivery of instruction, safety of the students, teachers, support staff, and district physical stability are my top priorities. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Young. Now we will go ahead and move on with our first question. And our first question will be asked tonight by Elise Cheek. Elise, you'll be starting with Raina Robinson. Oh, I think you're on mute.
Gotta remember to come off mute. Congratulations to you all for getting this far, and I really appreciate the service that you all plan to provide to our Vallejo Unified School District. So my first question is to Christy Gardner. Do you support adding safety and security?
I'm sorry, not Christy. We're going to start with Raina.
Oh, it's Raina.
Yes,
Okay, well, Raina, first question for Raina. Do you support adding safety and security to our schools, including volunteers, security services, or police patrolling our schools inside and out, and why?
Thank you for the question. So I definitely support any measures adding safety and security for our students and our staff. What that looks like could definitely be reimagined with the help of the community, the parents and the students. From my experience working in education at the County Office of Education in Contra Costa, I notice offhand classified staff are instrumental in providing necessary services to families that will in turn help to resolve, heal, or correct some of the trauma that a lot of the students are bringing into the classroom. So I know a lot of teachers, they don't like to take on so many different projects every year. It's a new initiative or a new process or a new practice, but there are many evidence-based and proven and true trainings, practices within providing mental health support as well as resiliency skills to our students so that they learn to self-regulate and like I said earlier, not bringing that trauma with them that we see on campus into the classroom. So I definitely support any measure bringing safety to our students and parents and students, excuse me, but we definitely need to bring our community into that conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question, and we're going to go to Robert Lawson. Do you support adding safety and security to our schools, including volunteer security services or police patrolling our schools inside and out, and why?
Well, yes, I do. I encourage the continuation and expansion as best we can afford of our SROs on the high school and middle school level, which we've had some cutbacks in that. Utilization of our professional staff as best we can, particularly in terms of the ASPs, who provide some of those services, particularly with abilities in mental health. As far as volunteers on there, we have to be very careful about that. We don't want to bring a bunch of vigilantes onto our school campuses. Okay, we see what happens when the vigilantes show up, but instead to make sure that if we're using volunteer help, that we're properly screening them. Okay, just like we would be screening teachers or substitutes or anyone else, not just let somebody go in there that doesn't know what they're doing. Okay, or has some sort of intent other than the school district. So yeah, yes, indeed, I think that's important. I'm most familiar with the high school level and dealing with that, although I do know on the elementary school, the ASPs have been particularly important. Part of this involves us, of course, having a good relationship with the police department, among other things, as well as mental health agencies, to make sure we're getting the right people there and as much help as we can get, and that we have a mutual understanding of the job at hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Dr. Latea Young. Do you support adding safety and security to our schools, including volunteers, security services, or police patrolling our schools inside and out, and why?
Okay, safety and security of schools is important. In saying that, it's also important to get police trained in community relations, building restorative justice, de-escalation, mediation. They have to be trained in order to deal with the population that they're going to be dealing with. I was so fortunate in my years of experience. I worked with a team, the SROs that were placed years ago. I'm going to date myself now. But they were part of the community. They were raised in the community, and the police department at that particular time made an asserted effort to pull from the infrastructure of the community of Vallejo and made sure that those officers were in tune with what was needed to build relationships with the students, build relationships with the community. Now, you're going to have to be very careful of who you send into these situations and make sure that they are culturally sensitive and building relationships with the community and knowing how to de-escalate situations without being forceful. If that's in place, I'm very supportive of that, having safety and security. I know the campus supervisors are trained in de-escalation and restorative justice, because I brought that about when I was in student support services director.
Thank you, Dr. Young.
Thank you. And next is Christy Gardner. Do you support adding safety and security to our schools, including volunteers, security services, or police patrolling our schools inside and out, and why?
I am supportive of adding safety and security. We do a pretty good job of providing security at the middle schools and the high schools as far as our school safety security personnel. However, I believe that parents volunteers would be a very useful tool at all three, the elementary, middle, and high school areas. And I say this because kids seem to react better when parents are around, and they mind their manners, so to speak, because they don't want the parents telling their parents that they were misbehaving. So that's one way where I believe we can utilize parents and then train them appropriately to volunteer in our schools. I was in Vallejo when we had very effective campus monitors and also very effective SROs. Our police officers were trained in being able to de-escalate student situations, and they formed relationships with the students, so the impressions that students left the high school with were positive of police rather than an adversarial situation. And I believe that the younger the kids are and they see police officers and you hire the appropriate police officers, that will build, and there will be a better relationship between the community in those types of situations. So I think that we can look at this and do a better job in our schools.
Thank you, Ms. Gardner.
Great, thank you. And that is all we have for number one.
Yes. Thank you, Elise. Okay, so we will go ahead and move on to question two. Question two will be asked by Alma. And Alma, you will be starting with Robert Lawson.
Hello, everyone. Robert, the question for you is, how will you work with your fellow board members, staff, and the public to carry out your responsibilities as a trustee to ensure a better education for our kids?
Yeah, I didn't hear part of the question. How will I work with the community? Was that the question, Alma?
Is how will you work with?
Yeah, how will I work?
How will you work with your fellow board members, staff, and the public to carry out your responsibilities as a trustee to ensure a better education for our kids?
Yeah, but we've already been doing that during the last several years. Our board is very cohesive, get along quite well, listen to others' ideas and stuff like that, and sharing that. Our various students have different needs. Which is one of the great truisms of it, and I've done what I can to really promote those areas in which students are being less served. We have needs for special needs students. We have needs for our Hispanic population. We have needs for our African American population, our Filipino American population, and anyone else. So it becomes we hire a staff. We hire $1 million worth of personnel at the very top in the school district to get that information to us as we need it. It's not our job to come there all of a sudden and say, well, nobody's ever told me anything. I guess I better figure it out myself. And so, we get constant input as far as how we're doing, what needs may be, and our suggestions can be taken if we have any. And it varies quite a bit with different board members. Some of them have all sorts of ideas. Others of us may not. Maybe I don't have a ton of ideas, but I sure can listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Next up is Dr. Latinia Young. How will you work with your fellow board members, staff, and the public to carry out your responsibilities as a trustee to ensure a better education for our kids?
I feel that team building is a key word to this. You are no more than part of a team. And when you start building relationships with the community, building relationships with the students, and having the ability to listen, just listen of what is asked of you, and try your best as a member of the board to acknowledge that you hear what they're saying, and that be consistent in getting back to them with a responsible answer of what they ask. Listening skills are very important as a board member. Team building and working with the team is also very important to get the job done. I feel that acknowledging, listening to students, parents, and your board members of what they feel the vision is and the direction we should go in building Vallejo School Board, Vallejo City Unified School District back on a directed path. I've gone through 10 superintendents and a state takeover, so it's time that we follow on and start listening. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, the question is up next is for Christy Gardner. Christy, how will you work with your fellow board members, staff, and the public to carry out your responsibilities as a trustee to ensure a better education for our kids?
Well, currently, I think that the board works very well together. We've built a very strong and cohesive board, so we do communicate with one another. And we also have that same relationship with the staff. What I would like and what I've asked for and what we will soon be doing is creating a strategic plan. And this will involve communicating with the public so that they can share what they envision the school to look like and take all of this input and create a school that is good for everyone. That's good for the community, that's good for the teachers, that's good for the students, and that's good for the board members. We're experiencing a lot right now. We have budget issues. We have just that COVID has created, everything's kind of up in the air. And I believe this is an opportunity for us to get together and reimagine what we would like to see in education. And that takes a strategic plan, and it takes the community coming together with the staff, the board members, and students to really create an education that is going to better serve the students in our community and better serve the community as a whole, to clean up the reputation that Vallejo City Unified has. We are going to change that, this next board. We will change that reputation, and we do it through strategic planning.
Thank you, Christy. Next up is Raina Robinson. Raina, how will you work with your fellow board members, staff, and the public to carry out your responsibilities as a trustee to ensure a better education for our kids?
Thank you. Well, as many stated before me, communication is going to be definitely the key to understanding the parents and community's needs. Active listening, so not only active listening, but emotional listening, where many parents and community members may not have the language or the ability, or maybe they're so filled with passion and emotion that they don't accurately or with ill intention convey the ideas that they're experiencing in the classroom or in the community as it relates to their child's education, but being open and honest enough to help people decipher that information so that we can get that feedback to all of our board members when I plan to represent North Vallejo, and be able to have that feedback so that we can make minor pivots so that they are culturally and socially relevant to the students and the parents and the community. And just creating a common consensus that where we are right now is very uncomfortable, but we are going to get through this together. We will continue to listen to one another, and we have to be flexible to get to our goal, which is a thriving school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alma. That concludes question number 2. We will now move on to question number 3, which will be posed by Sue. And Sue, you will start with Dr. Young.
Thank you. Dr. Young, I want to make sure I'm pronouncing your first name. Is it Latina?
It's LaTanya.
LaTanya. Okay. So LaTanya,
I know who I am.
LaTanya, you're first up. What would you do to make sure all staff members are trained each year in dealing with high-risk behaviors and students get the special resources, behavioral and academic help needed in a timely manner?
I can reflect back to my experience going through Vallejo City Unified School District as a teacher. We had an excellent professional development center that addressed all those particular areas. We went to in on-site training and behavior training of special needs and special resources. We had that type of support. I don't know if it's still in place or if it's delivered in a different format. But professional development center is very important to any district so they can adjust and train teachers on how to deal with high risk behavior and students with special need resources and behavior and academic needs in a timely manner. You have to have that exposure. I know when I was in teaching as an adjunct professor in the credentialing program, they have a lot of book sense and theory, but the actual on site and that I had to give that to them, the resources that they needed in order to survive in the classroom with those type of situations. I would always give scenarios and have them role model and act them out in order how they would know how to deal with that particular situation. So yes, they need training.
Thank you, LaTanya. Next is Christy. Christy, what would you do to make sure all fellow board members, staff, and the public to carry out your response? Hold on, we just
That's
changed.
wrong question.
We just changed, hold on. Okay, let's start that all over, Christy. What would you do to make sure all staff members are trained each year in dealing with high-risk behaviors and students get the special resources, behavioral and academic help needed in a timely manner? Christy?
Well, every year the teachers do go through professional development at the beginning of the school year. And we normally look at the budgets and approve whatever resources they may need. We don't always have input into what it is that they are teaching, but we certainly could make that a priority. And if we had a strategic plan, that would be at the top of the list. Right now, we no longer have the professional development center that we really do need. And that is a goal that we could set for ourselves to make sure that all of our staff is trained in what they need to be trained in. The special education department, I believe they do more training, and under the new director of special education, it seems to have been more effective than it has in the past. And I think that that's a real plus. But unless we have a regular routine set up, I don't know that this is going to happen. So we have to make sure that all of the resources that we're asked of, that we can support the staff members in receiving this training and support the management in getting the tools necessary in order to deliver the training, and that it's meaningful and that we can then evaluate it at the end of the training to make sure that money is well spent and that the teachers are fully trained.
Thank you, Chris. Next is Raina. Raina, what would you do to make sure all staff members are trained each year in dealing with high-risk behaviors and students get the special resources, behavioral and academic help needed in a timely manner?
Thank you. So I'm a huge advocate for professional development, staff professional development. As I mentioned before, I am a community resilience trainer, which is rooted in trauma-informed, but we're looking at how to pull your strengths out of you, as well as a youth mental health first aid advocate, which gives teachers the skills and helps to bring in the resources to help them make referrals when they suspect a child is having mental health issues. And this is something that's huge right now during our distance learning with COVID-19. So we can see when a student is hungry, we can see bruises when they're abused. but mental health issues largely go unseen. So we have no idea the anxiety that students are experiencing now. And this would be instrumental to get teachers who are advocates for mental health, not saying they have to be mental health trainers. What they do is learn how to make the appropriate referrals. We could also bring in harm reduction, which is really easy to implement, whether you're a site safety, a classified staff, or certified. And I work for the County Office of Education. Reaching out to Solano County Office of Ed, they oversee homeless and foster programs. Ask them for help in case managing, showing them the data and the numbers on why we deserve those resources. Thank you. Yes.
All right, Robert, what would you do to make sure all staff members are trained each year in dealing with high-risk behaviors and students get the special resources, behavioral and academic help needed in a timely manner?
Quite simply, we don't have the PDC anymore, which we should have, and PDC has kind of been, in recent years, bits and pieces of stuff depending on what the emergency of the day was or what the need of the day was, such as briefing new substitute teachers and stuff. I mean, the role of the board is to direct the superintendent, do it. We have one particular duty. We hire a superintendent. We also can direct superintendent to do certain things, and then it's up to the superintendent, to the staff and all, to provide these kind of trainings and stuff like that. It is not our job to go out and grab up a bunch of people and say, hey, we're setting up this here class. That's called micromanaging. We're not to do that. But basically, if we want this, it is our job as the board to direct our superintendent and through him, the staff, to provide this kind of training. They've got expertise, they've got contacts, you know, high-risk behaviors, or somebody who's gotten their doctorate somehow or other in studying that, or special needs, behavioral and academic help sort of stuff. We hire these people. Let's let them do their job, but it starts with us saying we want the job done. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you. And thank you, Sue. So now we have now concluded question 3. We will move on to question 4. And before we start, I do want to remind our attendees that if they do have any questions they would like to ask of our candidates, please post them in the Q&A. Okay, so question number 4, we're going to start off with Christy. Christy, what do you consider most important for kids to get a good education? And what do you consider a good education?
I consider a good education one that prepares students for life and prepares students to graduate from high school first and then to move on to whatever area they want to move on to, whether it be college or a job. Most important for kids in getting a good education is learning how to read, I think. And if students learn how to read by the 3rd grade, then they're pretty much well on track. But what we need is we need our teachers, and most of them do a very good job, to kind of hook kids in and pique their interest. And if it's meaningful to the students, then the students are better apt to learn whatever it is they're trying to learn. So make education not necessarily fun, but interesting. Make them be a part of it. Make them hands-on, give them hands-on activities. That's why I think it's so difficult right now in the distance learning model, because there's not that connection that the kids have with the teachers. So it makes it doubly hard for the teachers to really try to connect with the students. You know, kids don't care how much you know. They care about how much you care about them. So that's how you connect with students, and that's how you prepare students, and that's how you lay the foundation for a good education, is showing the kids that you care and connecting them to whatever subject they're learning, hands-on.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you. Raina, you're up next. What do you consider most important for kids to get a good education, and what do you consider a good education?
Thank you. So what I feel is important for a student to get a great education is first and last a meaningful experience. So I can speak for myself in saying I can't exactly tell you what books I read in the third grade or the second grade, but I could tell you how my teachers treated me. I can tell you how the front office staff treated me and how they made me feel. And it's also important that we are being extremely inclusive of different learning styles. We tend to stick to tradition, but now is the perfect time to throw stuff out the wall and see what works. Some kids are more audio. They have a hard time reading books, but they're really engaged if it's a podcast. Same thing with visuals. Some kids can recite a whole play just by watching it. So it's really important that in the perfect time while we're making changes to hybrid and digital learning, that we're incorporating the whole student and not just the traditional mathematical, logical student, or the literary student, but those who have a lot to contribute to Vallejo once they are adults, if we cultivate their education and truly inspire them.
Thank you, Raina. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Bob. Bob, what do you consider most important for kids to get a good education, and what do you consider a good education? Just got to have you in.
Okay, yeah, we are. Well, there's all sorts of things that go into this. Don't underestimate the 3 R's for starters. And Christy mentioned reading, ability to write, the ability to do math, and you get those bases. And then what becomes a good education varies with the student. To be brutally honest, some people have learned best throughout history through rote learning, which is a wicked bad concept. I realize I don't particularly go for that, but some people do thrive on that. But what the most important thing for kids to get a good education is to be able to think, develop to the best of their ability, higher order thinking skills. And that prepares them for the fact that I can't tell you what the good job 10 years from now is going to be. But if you have the ability to think on a higher level than you're operating now, then you're going to be ready for when those opportunities open up. I think that's most important. It starts with basic principles of reading and writing and mathematics, but then after that, there is no one size fits all for a person to have a good education, unless it's from the judgment of somebody else telling them you didn't get a good education. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. LaTanya, what do you consider most important for kids to get a good education, and what do you yourself consider a good education?
I consider most important for kids in getting a good education is exposure. Students can't be put in a cookie cutter type situation. Students, they learn with different types of modality, and you have to expose them to those different type of modalities and be able to monitor and adjust them if they're not understanding that modality. In order to get a good education, the teachers that are delivering instruction is going to have to understand the whole child in dealing with the delivery of instruction to their students in the classroom. I always felt that that was very important when you are dealing with different learning styles and different abilities to understand the situation that's put before you. What do I consider a good education? I think I am an example of a good education because I was educated through Vallejo City Unified School District, and I didn't do too bad. I went on to the university system and profited from that, and then came back to Vallejo to be a role model. So a good education is having the foundation. I had mentors. I had people that knew I had the ability.
Thank you, Dr. Young. Thank you. Okay, we have now concluded question 4. We will move on to question 5. And to ask that question will be Elise. And Elise, you will be starting with Reina. Elise? Elise?
So we're gonna,
Nope, you were good. There you
oh,
go.
we're good, okay. Okay, so, wow, very interesting questions. Thanks to all. I mean, this is just great. So I'm gonna start, my first question is going to be to Rena. And that is, what do you see as the obstacles with distance learning, and what would be your plan to address them? And that's for Rena.
Thank you. So I definitely want to acknowledge, speaking to parents, community members, teachers, and everybody in between, that no one's situation is the same. And I know that. And that's why I believe that it's extremely important that we keep that in mind when we're making decisions, and we're constantly getting input and feedback from our staff as well as our parents and guardians. And just know that it's not going to be like this forever. We will make it through. But if we all become our best selves and put our best foot forward, when we get to that transcendental moment, we'll be so proud of the success that we've made. I also think that it's extremely important that we all stay flexible. I know that it's very uncomfortable for a lot of us. I can even speak for myself. There were times we were getting emails every other day making changes about how we were going to deliver instruction to students. So I feel everyone's pain, and parents trying to figure out how they're going to juggle work and their students' education. So I think that it's extremely important that we adopt a hybrid model, but to make it sustainable, ask parents to opt in for long-term, whether it be a hybrid halftime on campus or distance learning, so that there is some consistency throughout the district. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you. Great. Next, Robert, what do you see as the obstacles with distance learning, and what would be your plan to address them?
Okay, but to begin with, about 40 years ago, my wife and other teachers in the Vallejo School District invented ESL out of thin air. There were no resources at that time. They wrote curriculum. They came up with lessons years before publishing companies in the state came up with other programs. And I see that in distance learning, our teachers face a similar thing. And we see some people coming up with very creative responses to the challenges of distance learning. Every day, teachers are learning something new, something they can do, something that will fly. I think that's very important. And that we need, as a school board and district, to provide our people with as much resources as possible to be able to deal with it. Not only deal with it now, but to find out, is it going to have some sort of application when things go back to normal? I think there's been some people, oh, distance learning, bad and wicked. They say that about a lot of things, bad and wicked. But the fact is that we're dealing with a student population, that I was joking yesterday, that grew up watching Einstein, the Einstein Baby, and Sesame Street and other programs like that. Maybe they've learned something off the tube. I don't want us to keep doing that, but let's continue pushing with this, looking for new ways of getting stuff done. And I think we're gonna come out of this thing okay. We don't have the test results or anything yet to show that there's anything bad and wicked about distant learning. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Robert. So next is Latanya. What do you see as the obstacles with distance learning, and what would be your plan to address them?
Well, right now I see some of the obstacles because I've been speaking with several teachers, and I have a niece that's on distant learning also in the Vallejo Unified School District, and I'm seeing that, and I'm hearing that accountability is one of the things, holding the kids accountable for what they need to do. Understanding the subject matter also is hard to uh, evaluate because all they're doing is punching a little dot to answer the questions, and the teacher's not really seeing the process of especially in math. Assessment, it's going to be interesting to see how this distant learning is going to pan out with the state assessment testing if we are required to do it. That would be the proof of the pudding to see how effective the distant learning was. The support, I would plan to support. If you need support, support. Since this is the new paramount, the teachers need support, the parents need support. I would make sure that everything that's possible on site, off site, would be accessible to them because this is a new environment. It's a new learning style. So everybody is on a high learning curve here. Thank you.
Thank you, Latanya. Next is Christy. And what do you see as the obstacle with distance learning, and what would be your plan to address them?
Oh, you're muted.
Thank you for the question. I think this has been in the forefront of our minds for quite some time now, since the beginning of the school year. There are challenges with the parents, there are challenges with the students, there are challenges with the teachers. This is something new. It's like teachers, it's their first year in teaching because it's something new to them. Professional development is one of the areas where we need more of to help the teachers out, and more coaching models to look at it from a different point of view. It's a distance learning environment is an environment that the vast majority of our teachers here and nationwide are not used to. So it's a steep learning curve for them. And quite frankly, the students are probably doing better than the teachers because they've grown up with computers, whereas many of the teaching staff, they did not grow up with teachers, maybe the younger teachers, but many of our staff is over the age of 50. They didn't grow up with computers. And so it's not only do they need to learn new instructional techniques, but they also need to learn new technical aspects with regards to the machine that they're operating and the tools that are at their hands right now. So, and support for the parents, making sure that the kids have all of the materials that they need, going out and providing the hotspots and the computers for them, which I believe we've done that in this district, which is a godsend, really.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Elise, for getting through that question. We are on to question number 6. And for question number 6, we will be asked by Alma. And Alma, you'll be starting with Bob.
Hello, Bob. The question for you is, given the limited financial resources available, how would the school board reintroduce and support the arts and vocational education into the school system?
When you done, mute
Looks like.
Okay, well, among other things, it's a matter of resetting the priorities of how the money gets spent. One of the things with the arts or the vocational education more so has been, before we were locked into a wall-to-wall academy system, which included several academies that were pretty good and several academies that were, to be brutally honest, Mickey Mouse. By reducing or eliminating those academies, it's opened the way for us to offer more of a vocational education program. The other thing is, of course, to try to be working through the various labor groups in town, the Central Labor Council, building trades and stuff like that, to produce stuff, and they have, that will increase our chances for having some decent vocational education in our school district. The arts, same thing. It's been real challenging. We do lose people because there's at least one school district not too far from us that has the whole shebang, and we lose people to that district. And so, you know, I'm a strong supporter of that. I don't think we should be producing goths. I think we should be producing well-rounded people that understand the visual and the performing arts and can be part of it. And I know my cohort on the school board is going to answer that question too, because she's very much involved in that.
Thank you. Next up is LaTanya. Given the limited financial resources available, how would the school board reintroduce and support the arts and vocational education into the school system?
Given the limited financial resources, I think the answer to that would be partnerships with trades, partnerships with the community, partnerships with the colleges that are nearby. I remember that when I was principal at John Finney, well, it's John Finney now, but it was People's High School. We had a state-of-the-art culinary kitchen done with one of the measures that came through. And I had culinary interns come from Calistoga to do instructions for the students. So that partnershiping is very important to do when you have limited financial money available. Vocational ed, when I was going to school, vocational ed was just part of the curriculum. We had wood shop, we had mechanics, we had career ed, we had all those things available. We had choices then. The kids don't have choices now to do anything except a few academies. They used to have quite a few academies to make choices from. The vocational educational piece is very important because every student is not going to go to college. We would love for them to do that, but they have other interests, and that might be in vocation.
Thank you. Next up is Christy. Christy, given the limited financial resources available, how could the school board reintroduce and support the arts and vocational education into the school system?
This question is very near and dear to my heart. Right now, we have a construction academy that was started last year, and unfortunately, COVID kind of threw a wrench in that, but it will continue. And it's all a matter of prioritizing. And I believe that we can prioritize vocational education and the arts. There are grant funds available for CTE programs, career technical education. And if we can find those teachers to teach these classes, we can access these grant funds. We're accessing some of the grant monies now. That will help us build robust vocational programs, not just the construction academy, but also a new culinary arts program or a welding program. We have an engineering program at Vallejo High School that I believe gets some of these funds. As far as the arts are concerned, we can partner with the studios that are on Mare Island and perhaps write some grants to receive grant money for the arts. I have an idea of creating a school just specific for the visual and performing arts. I'm a former drama teacher, so that is definitely where my heart is in that particular area. We need to do the planning to do this, and that's why I am so for a strategic plan that the entire community can have a say in. Thank you.
Thank you. Raina, given the limited financial resources available, how could the school board reintroduce and support the arts and vocational education into the school system?
Thank you. So money is always tight in education, as we all know. So I think it's extremely important that the leader in that position is extremely resourceful, but not only resourceful, has a large network and a far reach. So yes, we would love to engage everyone here in Vallejo as well as Solano County. But if there are neighboring counties who have funds to help support our students, we should entertain all of that coming in. So I'm currently a board member for MOCA, which stands for the Museum of Children's Arts. And it's a 90-year plus old art organization based in Oakland. And they currently do have partnerships with some of our Vallejo schools, but we could definitely talk to their executive director to see how can we expand that with the little that we have. I also was brought to Contra Costa County's Office of Education, a part of their California Pathways Trust 2 grant, which was solely meant to build out career pathways, college and career pathways, because not all students plan on going to college. Some want those vocational programs. And during that time, I was able to assist with IT programs, high paying growing industries like public health and construction. We did ongoing career days, and we partnered with our county's workforce programs to give students those experiences in those vocations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alma. That completes question number 6, and we will now move on to question number 7, which will be asked by Sue. And Sue, you'll be starting with LaTanya.
Thank you, James. So LaTanya, what will you do to expedite the sale of surplus school property?
Well, to expedite the sale of surplus school property, I would have to know the protocol and the procedures on how to sell school property. I'm not familiar with that particular aspect of it. I know there's a process and goes through the county office, but to expedite it, I would make sure that it was advertised and pushed to the right sources that would be buying property in this area. Vallejo is a gateway to the wine country. You know, there's ways to sell property for development. We have some key areas that we have surplus property that we need to address the sale of, but I know there are protocols in how to do that. But after the protocols are being done, then the best way to do it is to sell it by advertisement, and put it in a good real estate investment firm that will promote that and make sure that the property is sold expeditiously. Thank you.
Thank you, LaTanya. Next, we have Christy. So Christy, what would you do to expedite the sale of surplus school property?
Well, I'm assuming that you mean the property, the building properties. Is this what you're talking about? The schools that are vacant? Because there's other surplus school property.
I think we're talking about it in general.
Okay. Well, in general, I mean, I would support the facilities department in making sure that the appraisals were done on the properties, and we have done appraisals on our properties of the Rollingwood, the Farragut, I think the Grant, those facilities right now, and just to make sure that they're working with the right people and what those appraisals say. Some of them, for instance, the Farragut, we thought that perhaps a developer would want to purchase that because it's in a pretty good location in Vallejo. And we were told that it would be much better for a school. So perhaps a private school would want to come in, or we may even use it for an additional school that we create, who knows? But make sure that everything is done beforehand, and then make sure that whoever is managing the sale of the properties is doing everything by the book. And the quicker the better, because unfortunately what happens if they're the vacant properties, then there is vandalism, and then it's an eyesore for the community, and it just takes more time on the district's part to clean up the mess because the property is vacant. But basically to support the facilities department and make it a priority with the superintendent that we want these properties sold, and we want them sold as quickly as possible.
Thank you, Christy. Next up is Raina. So Raina, what would you do to expedite the sale of surplus school property?
I think that it would be important that we provide the necessary oversight of the professionals in this department, meaning that we help organize the hiring of proven realtors that are experienced in selling school property, and really outlining our goals and expectations, and having open communication and frequent communication about how that marketing is going, and if there would be any shifts or adjustments that need to be made to the properties, whatever the property is, whether it be tables, books, chairs, or real estate, to get the most value back that we can use that money to possibly purchase updated infrastructure for our currently running schools. So I think that it's important that we oversee the partnerships of proven school property realty management groups, and constantly check in for feedback and make adjustments as needed. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. Robert, you're up next. What will you do to expedite the sale of surplus school property?
Well, we've already been doing the stuff to expedite this. A year ago, the board appointed a committee, and one of the finest citizens committees I've ever seen, to look into all of our surplus, looking into our property to make some recommendations and stuff. And that really got us going again on this. We've had some other issues we had to take care of. And so the property issue had been on the back burner. But such things as the large Rolling Wood property, which is big enough to put a subdivision on, the Farragut property, which apparently is more valuable than I thought it was, of course, were major ones. We took to reutilizing other properties that where school closures have been. For instance, we're still looking into some options, not sale of property, but reuses of Franklin Middle School and Beverly Hills School, which we closed last year. Some of these facilities may go for schools. But the fact is, we've gotten the appraisals for them, and we're in a position to move ahead. One of the things, sale of this property would help us meet our future potential deficits and stuff as we go down our 3-year budgeting process. And so we've got that. We've got, by the way, we get high level professionals, whether it's in real estate or bond, stuff like that. So we're not going out there and hiring chopped liver to do this stuff. We're getting good people.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. That concludes question number 7, and we will now move on to question number 8, which I will ask. And we will start with Christy. Christy, do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or as a representative of the school system?
That's an interesting question. I think I see myself as a representative for both, primarily for the community. I've been in this school system, starting here, but I've been in a school system for over 20 years as an educator. But the community, I believe, deserves to have a positive school environment, and they believe to have a school district where they would be happy and proud to send their children to. Right now, with declining enrollment, many of the community members don't feel that way. And I guess my real goal is to help create a school system that is good for the entire community, not just those that are currently going to the school system, but perhaps bring more people into the school system by creating a more robust school system that has something for everyone in the community, not just a certain group, and that is exceptional in many areas. And that includes bringing back the CTE programs, having a more effective arts program, beefing up the academics, having advanced placement programs. And all of this really is for the community, so that the school system is representative of all of the members of the community. Right now, it's a community school system, basically, where we have the social emotional help for all of our students, and to beef that up and to make the community know about all of the programs that we do have in place, because I don't believe that we've been very good at communicating what is in place to the community. So I'm here for the community, but I represent the system. This is a very complicated question because it's a juggling balls.
Thank you. Thank you, Christy. Thank you. So Rick, it's going to be your turn to tackle this one. Do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or as a representative of the school system?
Thank you.
Raina, just real quickly, I'm going to keep the time, and it looks like the timer stopped. So, okay, got 90 seconds.
Okay, I see the timer.
There you go.
Thank you. And I will say wholeheartedly that I'm definitely a representative of my community. So from what I understand, the school board position was created to represent the interests of the students in our area, North Vallejo, and to represent and to support our parents as they raise our future business leaders, our future teachers, and our future scientists and construction workers. So I can say without a doubt that I'm definitely a representative of the community and have had 100% support and commitment, grassroots style, from my community, which is currently and thankfully, and I thank everyone, funding my campaign, which is from all members of the community. Yeah, I'll stand on that. I'm here to represent the interests of the families and the students of North Vallejo, which is my community. Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. So Bob, do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or as a representative of the school system?
Well, I don't like either characterization. I need to express one thing. You need to understand something about the school board. The school board meets in public, but that's it. We meet in public. We do not act as the public, okay? As in any kind of representative kind of situation. We may listen to what members of the community say. We may listen to what representatives of the school systems say, but in the end, we make decisions based on our feelings about the issues. There's 435 people in the Congress of the United States who do the same thing, okay? The gist of it is that, you know, I'm neither of these. We were a school board. We're a board of 5 people, and we're looking out for the interest of the community. And by the way, these districts were not they were provided by a high-paid Los Angeles lawyer, and it has nothing to do with the community itself. But the fact is that you know, we're to make decisions, and obviously we do make them based on we feel what the community would like, also what the school system needs and has, as opposed to being representatives of either one of these exclusively. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. LaTanya, do you see yourself primarily as a representative of the community or a representative of the school system?
I see myself as a representative of both. I live in the community. I represent the community, but I'm also part of I would be part of the entity of the school system. I feel that a school board represents a liaison from the board to the community, and they need to be their listening board in order to bring those ideas and concerns back to the school system in order to make the school system aware and of what's going on out there. So it's a two-edged situation there. I feel that I represent the community, and I also represent the school system, making sure that their voices are heard, because they need to. I'm a listener, so therefore I listen. I bring back the information to my school board, and we decide, or we as a team address the issue, or I'll address the issue with whoever I think can solve the problem. But community liaison I guess I would call that a title. So it's double-edged. You are a dual system there.
Thank you. Thank you. That does conclude question number 8. We will now move on to question number 9, which will be asked by Elise. And Elise, we will start with Raina.
Great. Okay, Raina, with a change in leadership, what are you looking for in a superintendent?
Thank you. So first and foremost, I would be looking for a superintendent who has a vision. I'm speaking to a lot of staff and a lot of our community members. They really feel that Vallejo is used as a stepping stone to a bigger paycheck, which I can understand how that could be is taken offensively, because we as a community, we are very passionate about each other and about our students and how they're being educated. So I would look for someone with a vision, someone who has experience implementing and revising strategic plans. So as I mentioned before, I worked with my current superintendent in implementing our strategic plan that she first with a team created, and throughout the 3 years that I was working on that grant, I personally revised, took feedback, revisited, looked at our budget, but she had a vision, a long-term vision that extended well beyond 3 or 4 years. So I think that is extremely important, someone who plans on weathering the storms with us, and someone who could celebrate our success once we make it through. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Raina. So next up is Bob. With a change in leadership, what are you looking for in a superintendent?
Well, we'll be trying to recruit a new superintendent with the strong qualities that we found in Dr. Clark, including his ability to work well with staff in the community, not the least being his capacity for listening to people. Yeah, it's always going to be a challenge what we can offer in pay, and whether somebody is going to stay for how long. Dr. Clark was a relatively young man on his way up. He was when we hired him, he was well regarded, became even better regarded once we hired him. But that's kind of the case in Vallejo, where we just can't always afford to pay people, to keep them. We had a business services officer we hired right about the same time that we hired Dr. Clark. He was very good, and we couldn't pay him what big time BSOs make. We got another one now. We pay him a little bit more, and we hope we keep him because, at least my observation, he's good. He's not going to blow it by $60 million and get us into hot water like happened in 2004. So Anyway, one of the superintendent's got to be somebody who gets along well with the staff, cares about people, a good speaker, someone the public has confidence in. Be nice if we could get somebody that lives close to Vallejo. That'd be nice too, or lives in Vallejo. So those are the kind of things.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay.
Great. So up next is Latanya. Latanya, with the change in leadership, what are you looking for in a superintendent?
Well, I definitely have seen them go in and out. I've been under 10 superintendents in a state takeover. So I have a good idea what I feel that would be a good fit. First of all, a superintendent that comes into Vallejo has to celebrate the cultural diversity of our community. They have to be aware of what's going on in our community and be willing to ask questions and not be afraid of the answer, and be ready to address the answer and solve the solution. It's very important that whoever we're looking for has had the experience in a school district that is similar to ours and some of our problems that we're entailing now. I would also want the superintendent to be a listener to his community, a listener to his teachers, the teachers, because they are the forefront of what leads this district. They're the eyes and ears of what makes this district run. I'd also be looking for somebody that is not using Vallejo as a stepping stone and just going to stay here a couple of years.
Thank you. Next up is Christy. Christy, with the change in leadership, what are you looking for in a superintendent?
This is a very timely question, since that's exactly what we're looking for as a new superintendent. I believe that Dr. Clark did a really good job with the nuts and bolts of the district, and he worked a lot with the climate and the just the climate of the teachers, working with them, listening to them. He was very good about that. I want to see a superintendent that has had experience, isn't looking at this job as a stepping stone to his next position, that also has a vision. So he's got the experience, he has the skills, and he has a vision and the ability to carry out that vision to try to maybe build the district and build upon what Dr. Clark established. That's critical. If we don't get the right superintendent, we're in a lot of trouble. So I believe that the new superintendent coming in has to have the skills and abilities necessary to do the job on day one. So he has to have had, or she has to have had, the experience in a district like Vallejo, a culturally diverse district that can hit the road running and then take it from there, listening to the teachers, listening to the board, listening to his cabinet, perhaps bringing in fresh people that can help him move Vallejo forward into the diamond we should be.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. So that does conclude question number 9. Thank you, Elise. We will go now to our final question of the evening, and it will be asked by Alma. And Alma, you will be starting with Bob.
Hi, Bob. The question is, what is your understanding of the school district's current strategic plan?
Well, but Christy had said before, this is a work in progress. We do not have a strategic plan, and that's one of the current goals that we have, is informing that. Different members of the board have varying understandings of that, and I will not try to shuck and jive you into saying that I'm leading the band and all this. I'm quite quite willing to cooperate in the efforts of Christy, of Tony Gross, and others who have some really good ideas in this regard. I think the one thing I was concerned about is that hopefully we'll get a new superintendent on board who will play a role in this. There was some sort of, that was one area where we had a little bit of a dispute on the board. Some people said, we go ahead and have the plan first, and then when we hire the superintendent, we hand it to him or her. I'd like to see the superintendent, the new superintendent we hire, be a part of creating the strategic plan. And that's about all I can say on that. Thank you.
Thank you. LaTanya, what is your understanding of the school district's current strategic plan? Can you please unmute? It looks like you might be muted. It looks like LaTanya might be muted.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, I'm sorry. As I said, the current, I'm under the understanding that they do not have a current strategic plan, but are working on one they're in the process of going in that direction. My understanding is that they, the school board that's sitting now, that they are running on a prior strategic plan. In doing a strategic plan, you have to have all stakeholders on board. And right now, Vallejo City Unified School District is working on getting a new superintendent. So it's very important that you have the superintendent, the community, and everybody working as a team to build this strategic plan. That's going to be a guidance for the next 5 years, or how many years you set the goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Christy, what is your understanding of the school district's current strategic plan?
Well, we don't have a strategic plan currently, and I believe the last strategic plan that the district developed was in 2011. So what they've been using as their plan is the LCAP, the Local Control Accountability Plan, but it's not really a strategic plan. It's how you're going to spend your money. I believe we need a strategic plan where we can identify the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats that are in the district, so we can come up with a plan to work on those various areas, to strengthen the strengths, to accentuate those, to get rid of the threats, and work to strategize as to how we plan to do that. So we will be working on a strategic plan, and actually it's a good thing that it was delayed, because the new superintendent coming in, hopefully we'll find one, and he'll start by November 1st, will be able to plan with all of us. And LaTanya's right, all of the stakeholders need to be involved. The community needs to be involved. They need to let us know what they would like to see our school district look like. What do they expect from our school district? Those all need to be in the plan, so we'll have the roadmap that we can follow towards excellence.
Thank you. And Reina, what is your understanding of the school district's current strategic plan?
Well, sadly, we've learned that our district has been operating without one. And I've explained earlier in the night that I have an immense amount of experience, not only helping to craft strategic plans, but also helping to assist with research or pointing in the direction of how to implement and providing our superintendent the supports that she or he needs to carry out that work, focused on our key needs, which was mentioned, which is highlighted in our LCAP, parent, community, and teacher engagement, addressing our lack of A through G classes and college readiness, and having long-term and short-term actionable steps that we can take, and clear desired outcomes that could be measured not only with our eyes, but with concrete data. And not being afraid to talk about the risks and the challenges of a successful implementation, or sadly, sometimes failures. So a strategic plan is essential to the growth and the vision of a district. And we definitely need to elect a leader who can get their ideas and their thoughts vividly on this paper to share with our community.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alma. That does conclude our 10th and final question for the evening. So we will now move into our closing statements. And to give our first closing statements, we will start with Latanya. Latanya, you have 2 minutes.
Oh, thank you. First of all, thank you for including me in this forum. I enjoyed answering the questions to the best of my ability with the knowledge that I have of the school system and my experience within it. The questions kind of opened my eyes and my ears to some things that I can address if elected. If elected, I will continue to share my knowledge, experience, and relationship I have established during the 40 years of service in Vallejo Public Schools, so that all children, parents, and teachers and support staff feel valued. That's very important, valued, safe, and heard. I am very proud of my dedication to my community in the 40 years service with Vallejo City Unified School District. I will continue to be that good trouble, as Congressman Lewis spoke of, in moving Vallejo City Unified School District in the direction of their vision for all students, parents in Vallejo City community, where I live, I graduated, I worked all my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Young. And now for our closing statement, Christy, you have 2 minutes.
Well, thanks again for the opportunity to talk with you all this evening and to share some of my thoughts and hopes for the future of Vallejo schools. Strategic planning is really key, and the board agrees that a strategic plan is necessary to move the district forward. And prior to COVID-19, we were scheduled to start that process. Although the planning is delayed, we will proceed with creating a strategic plan, and we will involve the community in reimagining the district. This is an opportunity for the community to come together and provide input as to what our district should look like and how we should conduct the business of schooling for the future. Additionally, we're hiring a new superintendent that will carry out the strategic plan. So it's extremely important that the superintendent we hire has the skill and vision necessary to propel this district into a district that the entire community can be proud of, and one that can offer the educational programs necessary to bring in new students as well as keep the ones we already have. This will not happen overnight, and it will take hard work and perseverance of all the involved parties. I'm committed to putting in the time and doing the necessary work to move the district forward and creating a district that has educational programs that can meet the needs of the majority of school-age children and young adults in this community. I'm the most experienced candidate running in the Area 2 race, and I ask that you take that into consideration when you complete your absentee ballot or you go to the polls on November 3rd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Christy. So now we will hear closing statements from Raina. Raina, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, and I want to thank the panel as well as anyone who is attending for your time and attention. And I really want you to know that I've explained that through my past professional and educational experience, I've proven my ability to commit to a vision, to carry out the work, to be extremely transparent, and to be accountability driven. I've built effective relationships with staff, family, and the community. That's been my role for the past 5 years at the County Office of Ed in Contra Costa County. And lastly, I want to help with aligning and addressing and finding sustainable resources for the district. Now, personally, I want to serve on the school board because my family migrated to Vallejo in the late 40s and 50s, and I'm invested in the legacy and improvement of Vallejo schools because the community is my family. Like I stated before, I represent the community of North Vallejo. I want every child actually to go to a school that provides them with tools they need to create fulfilling lives for themselves and to eventually become peer mentors to continue to pull up future generations of Vallejoans. I want to give staff and parents hope so that they know that I have their backs. And I want everyone in the community to know that I have no other agenda than to ensure that North Vallejo students have access to every opportunity that's available to them. And if it's very few, that will help to create them. So vote for me, Raina, and to the best of my ability, I will represent North Vallejo's thoughts and ideas as it relates to our children's education. And if you'd like to see any more information on
Thank you,
my
Raina.
Thank you, Raina.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raina. Okay, for our final closing statement tonight, Bob Lawson, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say I offer some diversity to the board since I'm the only one on the board who doesn't either have an administrative credential or a PhD, but they still ask me questions. But getting around that, I mentioned at the very beginning, 8 things that I had said I would do or would try to do that were accomplished. I should be reelected to the school board because I've done a good job. To put it simple. One of the couple of things I didn't mention before, I was the president of the board in 2019. At the end of 2018, school board meetings were a clown show. That's exactly it, clown show. Letters of the newspaper talked about how ridiculous we were, and we were competing with the city council. That's saying something. But the fact is, during 2019, we came up with, I was able to run civil board meetings. People with opposing opinions were able to speak calmly, and we were able to get the school district business done very, in orderly fashion, meetings lasting 2 hours or less frequently. So, we ran good more meetings and we're still having good meetings, even though now it's on Zoom. Also, during my time as board president, we passed a $194 million school bond issue. Okay. Our interim superintendent, Mitch Romeo, was very instrumental in this. I'm not going to take all the credit, but I was president when we did it. We chose a strong superintendent. We picked a really good superintendent. He stayed with us for 2.5 years. We should have been more, but we were part of a process which got a good superintendent, promoted fiscal soundness. We made the county and the state happy every time we did our budget up there. We're still open for business. And for that work, and also for the stuff having to do with the bond issue, I and other candidates are supported by Central Labor Council and the Solano Napa Building Trades Council. So we're supported by the working people of Vallejo, and I'm very proud to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much. So that concludes our candidate forum for this evening. I want to thank all the candidates for spending time with us tonight. I would especially like to thank my fellow chamber executives with the Vallejo Chamber Alliance, Elise Cheek with the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, Susu Vaccaro with the Solano County Philam Chamber of Commerce, and Alma Hernandez with the Solano County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We really appreciate your time. We appreciate all your attendees sticking with us. And we definitely hope that you learned something tonight, that you were informed by the candidates' answers, and most importantly, that you take that information and that you vote, because voting is where you really make a difference. So on behalf of ValPAC, on behalf of the Vallejo Chambers Alliance, my name is James Cooper, and I thank you for being here tonight. Candidates, if you would like to take a few minutes and look at the Q&A questions to still have a chance to answer, you can do so. I will leave this on for about 10 more minutes. But otherwise, we have concluded our event for this evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, Christy. I'm glad none of us tried to pony up a fake strategic plan. You know, it's like
What did you say, Bob?
well, I'm glad when the strategic plan came up, none of us tried to invent one out of thin air.
Interesting questions, huh?
Well, I thought, with like 4 different groups, 4 different Chamber of Commerce, I would have had no problem with, ethnocentric questions or stuff involving those chambers of commerce and stuff in the relationship with the school district. I was sort of surprised. It's kind of like, even like when we did the Stonewall.
Guys, I'm going to stop you for 1 second, just to make sure you know that whatever you say is still live.
That's okay.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Can I sing a song? Anyway, it's interesting. I think the most important question you can ask in an interview is there some question you wish I had asked you?
Yeah.
Gives you a chance to get one of them really right. I mean, you give an opening statement, true, but it's still some pet issue. Is there some question you wish we had asked you and we didn't? If so, what was that one? And tell us what you would have said. I like that one. Well, I'm up tonight. I got my checking account done today and all that. So, I guess
We're all good to go.
Yeah.
I'm signing out.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Christy. Again.
Thank you very much, James, for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Raina,
Hi, Raina.
be winding this up. Are you all finished now? Okay.
Yes, I'll finish up a question now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, thanks for being here tonight.
I've completed. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Raina. Good luck in the election.